Hey, 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 everybody, Grinder McGee back again in the tactical kitchen to give you another knife review. This time it's on a long-time favorite of mine, the Kershaw Military Boot knife. Now, this knife come out maybe 2006 and it's been in my collection ever since. Check out how thin it is. This truly is the what I would consider the original tactical steak knife in my collection here in the last 6-7 years or so. And what we got here is a one-piece drop forge design. What we have is the blade transitions into the Quillian guard here, also the bolster and the tang down to the pommel. All one solid piece on this knife is the most impressive part of it. Now, the least impressive part of it, I'm sure, of course, to most people when considering that it's a boot knife, is that it's so damn thin. So here we have the knife that you can compare it to the most, and I'll be dropping in some other ones during the vid. I don't know if doing a separate comparison few minutes is good or just drop them in here as I think about it. But here is a Spyderco Street Bowie in comparison, and the Spyderco Street Bowie is quite thin of a knife, and you can see the Kershaw Military Boot knife even thinner, especially with this false edge along the top here. It's pretty crazy thin. Uh, most people think of boot knife, they think of something like this, the ZT, what do they call this, the 0100, maybe something like that. This is what you think of when you think boot knife. Maybe you think of the Gerber Mark 1, which I have one of those, and they're quite excellent. Maybe you think of something like this, the counterattack, but you definitely think of maybe a small dagger in the 3.5 to 4.5, 5-inch range at the maximum. This one's 5 inches. I think the military boot knife is 4.5 inches. But where the military boot knife shines and something like your counterattack 1 from Cold Steel does not, although this is still a drop forge awesome blade, for defensive use, jamming bad guys up. Number one, this one's double-edged, so that takes it off the carry options for a lot of places, just due to dirk and knife laws and other type of BS. This one, if you're up to no good with it, definitely it could be considered a deadly weapon, but we don't have a sharpened false edge back here. It is a totally false edge. Where it shines, and that knife does not shine, is definitely in the kitchen. And 2 minutes 50 seconds in, can't seem to go without doing it. Let's bring out some celery here just to show you, and this is the factory edge. I've used this knife so many times. I carry it in the sheath, and I know I don't go over sheaths a lot too much in these last few videos. That's because they're not so important to me, because I'll make a sheath to suit my own needs, and most of the factory sheaths are either set up for military or belt carry, and I mean, we're talking hanging belt carry, like wilderness belt carry. So here's the one that comes with the Kershaw. It's got these attachments on the back for this crazy shoulder strap attachment that they have. I tried doing like a Velcro thing with it initially so I could carry it into the dashboard of the car. Didn't work out so great. Now I made this little crazy clip for it. I hang it from the bibs of my work coveralls, and I carry it inverted like that. It actually snaps in there pretty good. I don't want to put it in there right now because it's this sheath is very dirty. We're going to do some slicing first, but it actually does snap in there pretty good. Due to the smooth texture of the handle, it doesn't have a tendency to slide out of there on me. You hear it squeak? Not too bad. So I do like the celery for the slicing capabilities here. Obviously, if it can slice some celery, it can probably slice a piece of paper, a piece of cardboard. It can probably slice a bad guy up pretty good too. But this knife will never see anything like that. But it does see slicing the crust off of a lot of sandwiches. I have done a lot of that with this knife. So there you have it. There is some celery slicing. We'll go ahead and slice the rest of this up. Now, just talking about, the philosophy of carrying a knife and, all of that stuff. I know so many guys carry folding knives and they think that they're weapons and shit like that. But I carry a fixed knife, and in this size range, I wouldn't really consider it a weapon. I mean, if I had this, between this and my fingernails, I would take this, of course, but given this and my sneakers on the ground, I would definitely run as fast as I could unless there was no other choice available. And you're pretty much screwed if you got to whip out a knife like this to defend your ass. You've ended up in deep water and you don't have a paddle. This ain't going to paddle your canoe very well. Here is a tomato. We're going to slice. Now this knife is super great at slicing tomatoes. See how, I don't know if I can, I don't really like them super thin sliced, but I can't really do it super thin sliced either, so I guess necessity. Let's see, we'll just get the cap off this one here. Yum, yum, yum. Kershaw Military Boot knife. Now, as far as comparisons, I said I would drop in some other ones. I think, well, I actually did drop in a couple other boot knives here already. Let's throw one more out there, because it's the same size range. Just at home in the kitchen, and as it is in the wilderness, here's the SOG Northwest Ranger. When we compare the tips on these two knives, the Kershaw Military Boot knife is just so insane. Why they would market it as a military boot knife, I have no idea. It is definitely not a survival knife. It definitely has more of the geometry of a steak knife. Here, let me grab a steak knife. Here's a chintzy-ass Chicago cutlery steak knife. I mean, the similarities cannot be denied here. It's thicker down here than the steak knife, but at the tip, we're looking pretty similar at the tip here. So I do love this knife. The military boot knife from Kershaw weighs in around 4.2 ounces, and with the sheath, the way I got it set up, is about 5.4 ounces. So super lightweight, much lighter than your Gerber Strong Arm, much lighter than your exactly the same weight as your Griffin M10 that I have over here, talking about boot knives. Here is my ultimate favorite boot knife of all time, the at 7 minutes, finally mentioning it, the Griffin M10. Now this, guys, this is a boot knife. This is a Bob Terzola designed Griffin knife. This knife has a Zytel handle, and this knife, well, you can get it at Cutlery Shop pretty much exclusively right now. It comes with a pancake sheath now, I think, but here is the old, basically ideal boot knife design. I got a bug up my butt to carry at 45-degree angle for some reason with a Spyderco G-clip designed by Mike Sastry. The whole sheath was hand fit by Mike Sastry at his shop, River City Sheaths. Mike does some excellent work, just so excellent. You can't find a better civilian discreet carry sheath. I'm serious. And so that is my number one comparison to the military boot knife. But you know what? I think they're still getting sold out there, 35, 40 bucks. For that, you can't go wrong, guys. Anyway, it's getting long in the video. I'm kind of running out of stuff to say about the Kershaw military boot knife. I think it's 14C28N, as Kershaw likes. And this is Grinder McGee saying, keep your skills sharp, but keep your steel sharper. See you next time. Peace.